It began as nothing more than an ordinary evening, a silent house, a dimly lit living room, and the soft flicker of an old black and white film casting shadows across the walls. I hadn't intended for anything to change. I never allowed myself to even imagine it could. But when his hand accidentally brushed against mine, something deep within me fractured. And after that, nothing could ever return to how it once was. I'm Dana, 47 years old, married to Paul for over 20 years. We share 2 children, a house with a mortgage, and a life built on repetition. We don't fight anymore, but we don't laugh either. We've become like clockwork, going through motions we no longer even notice. He comes home, I cook, we clean, we sleep. Day after day. But feeling wanted, feeling seen, that part of me had long since been buried, until Tyler changed everything. Tyler. He's 31 now. My best friend's son. A boy I'd watched grow up, who'd spent summers swimming in our backyard, sleeping over after bonfires, calling me Miss Dana like I was some kind of second mother. I remember hugging him at his high school graduation, longer than expected, but I thought nothing of it back then. Somewhere between college and adulthood, though, he changed. He became taller, stronger, quieter. But the softness in him remained. And somehow he began to notice things no one else did. Like when I wore something new. Or when my eyes looked tired. Things Paul hadn't mentioned in years. That night, it was just the 2 of us. Paul had taken his muscle relaxers early and was asleep upstairs. Tyler stayed after dinner to finish a movie. He liked the classics. He said they reminded him of simpler days. I sat beside him on the couch, the way I had dozens of times before. But that night, the air between us felt different. Heavy. His knee bumped mine softly. I didn't move away. The shadows from the TV danced across our faces as my attention drifted from the screen to the slight pressure of his leg against mine. And then it happened. His hand slipped. Barely at first, just a passing touch along my thigh. My body froze. I kept my eyes forward, locked onto the screen though I wasn't seeing the film. His hand stayed there. And I let it. No boldness. No rush. Just his pinky curling lightly until it rested against my skin. Waiting. His palm slowly turned upward, left open, like an invitation. My hands gripped the throw blanket in my lap. I couldn't speak. I couldn't even breathe. Then he whispered, so softly, it was almost lost in the hum of the film. Are you okay? I nodded. That was all it took. His hand settled more firmly against my thigh. Not possessive. Not demanding. Just there. Warm and steady. My skin burned beneath his fingertips. I tried to speak, but no sound came. Then his thumb moved, one deliberate, slow stroke across the curve of my leg. My breathing hitched. My thighs pressed together instinctively. But I didn't pull away. I couldn't. His hand edged higher, inch by inch. I shifted without thinking, knees parting slightly. And I hated how easy it felt. I had spent so long convincing myself that physical closeness wasn't something I needed anymore. That Paul and I had simply grown into silence, as if that were normal. But Tyler, he made me realize that silence isn't peace. It's loneliness. And I was starving. We didn't kiss right away. We didn't even look at each other.
He watched the movie.
I watched him. His fingers slipped just beneath the edge of my shorts, warm and slow and careful. I could barely catch my breath. He leaned in, not for a kiss, but to whisper near my ear. I'll stop if you want me to. I couldn't answer, because I didn't want him to stop. He touched me like I mattered, like I was worth waiting for. And when I finally turned to him, I kissed him, hesitant, shaking, real. His lips felt like air after years of suffocating. I didn't recognize myself anymore. In that moment, I wasn't a wife. I wasn't a mother. I was just a woman who wanted to be wanted. We folded into each other right there on the couch, the old film forgotten, the TV still flickering silently. He moved carefully, almost reverently. My shirt slid up toward my ribs. His hands on my bare skin felt both shocking and comforting. I kept thinking, this should stop. I should stop this. But every time I tried to find the words, he touched me in a way that made logic vanish. A sound from the hallway broke through our haze. A creak. Maybe a pipe. Maybe just the house settling. We froze, foreheads pressed together, breathing uneven. "We shouldn't be doing this," he whispered. "I know." But then I kissed him again. Because by then, stopping wasn't possible. When the film's credits rolled, we were tangled in silence. I looked at him, shirt rumpled, lips swollen, his gaze searching mine. "What happens now?" I asked. He didn't answer. The next morning, I stood in the kitchen, my coffee untouched, staring blankly at the counter. I heard the bathroom door creak open. Tyler passed behind me, filling a glass of water. He didn't speak. Neither did I. But the silence between us felt heavier than any words. Days later, we crossed paths again, this time in the laundry room. Our hands brushed as we both reached for the same basket. We froze. "I can't stop thinking about it," he admitted quietly. "Neither can I whispered back. But we both knew we should. Knew it couldn't happen again. Only, that night hadn't satisfied the ache. It had awakened it. I found myself avoiding the living room after dark, locking my bedroom door not to keep him out but to keep myself in. And yet, I still felt the memory of his touch. His breath on my neck. His gaze that made me feel like someone who mattered. One evening, we sat outside together on the porch steps as the sun dipped low, painting the horizon in soft gold and orange. He sat across from me, not close but not far either. "You've been quiet," he said gently. "I've been thinking." "Me too." I finally turned to look at him. "I shouldn't have let that happen. But you did. And I didn't stop you." The silence between us wrapped tight around my chest. When he finally stood and walked away, I didn't call after him. I just watched him disappear into the fading light. Inside, Paul stood at the sink, washing dishes. I hovered silently in the doorway, wine glass in hand, when he glanced over and asked, "You okay?" I simply nodded. But I wasn't. Because the worst part wasn't that it happened. The worst part was that I wanted it to.